but we may be seeing the formulation of a game plan and tactics from this training footage from Gervonta Davis.
Anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is going to feel something from it. And it ain't going to be easy to hit it.
Gervonta Tank Davis has the boxing world buzzing after new training clips surfaced, revealing a jaw-dropping transformation ahead of his highly anticipated clash with Jake Paul. The undefeated powerhouse looks more dangerous than ever, leaner, stronger, and hitting with shocking explosiveness. Fans are calling this the most intimidating version of Tank they've ever seen, and many believe Jake Paul could be walking straight into the lion's den. Davis has always been known for his devastating knockout power and calm, menacing presence inside the ring. But this time, something feels different. The latest footage shows a Tank who's not just faster, but physically bigger and more focused, a version built for destruction. In previous camps, Davis was all about speed, precision, and slick movement, the trademarks of his dominance at lightweight. Now, with added size and power, he looks like a fighter preparing to unleash something entirely new. Every punch in training seems to echo with intent, and his intensity has the boxing world on edge. And boxer Eddie Chambers weighed in on the upcoming showdown, warning Jake Paul not to take Gervonta Tank Davis lightly. While Chambers admitted that Jake holds the edge in height and natural size, he stressed that those advantages won't mean much against a fighter as technically gifted and explosive as Davis. According to him, Tank's combination of precision, speed, and fight-ending power makes him one of the most lethal pound-for-pound boxers on the planet. "If you're not built for war, Tank will expose you fast," Chambers explained. He believes that no matter how big Jake is, one clean mistake against Davis could end the fight instantly. A reminder that raw size can't replace true boxing mastery.
My biggest fear, I don't never want to get embarrassed. You know?
What you mean? How would you get embarrassed?
As far as like me not doing my job, feel me? Like I'm not worrying about nobody else because I know skill for skill, none of these guys can mess with me. Nobody. I feel like my skills is way better than like Floyd. Like if I'm on my game, well, I take that probably hand in hand. But skill wise, nobody on TV that's fighting right now have more skills than me. Nobody. Like talking about top to bottom list of fighters that's fighting on TV.
So what that got to do with you being, I guess, embarrassing? Like, because again, we see you make posts on a story like the fight not happening. Like,
cause I don't never want to like me not doing my job like all the way, like me not training all the way, me not, you know. So that's what made me like. So I was supposed to been in camp, you know, and I wasn't in camp. So it was me like, all right.
oh, okay.
It pissed me off so bad that I was like, all right, I don't even want to fight anymore.
Gervonta Tank Davis has issued a bold warning in the build-up to his clash with Jake Paul, declaring that he could easily drop a 300-pound man if that person had no fighting background. Renowned for his blistering hand speed and devastating punching power, Davis explained that true combat isn't about size. It's about skill. "It doesn't matter how big someone is," Davis said confidently. "If they can't fight, I'll deal with them. Technique always beats size." The unbeaten champion went on to emphasize that boxing is a science of timing, precision, and movement. While a heavyweight might have sheer bulk on their side, Davis believes his quickness and power would make him impossible to touch and deadly to stand in front of.
That something like this can happen, but this is social media, this is what it's created. There's a lane that Jake Paul has created. Honestly, I'm not mad at him for it. He's gotten a lot of fighters and, you know, actual fighters some shine. It also has done for women's boxing a lot. So I'm not mad at him for what he's been in boxing and what he's created. This is a little crazy out here. This is a little crazy. And a lot of people will say, Tank is too small. Let me tell you something. Anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is gonna feel something from it. And it ain't gonna be easy to hit it. Got boxing IQ. He may not sound like an intellectual guy when you hear him talk, but he knows the ring inside and out. So there's nothing that Jake Paul can do aside from make it extremely ugly by grabbing him and probably trying to throw him to the ground. I don't know what else, bite him. I don't know, but I mean, the skill level alone. Now, of course, there is a size difference, a height difference and all that, but he's just gonna struggle so much landing a shot, it's just gonna look bad. To me, this is the way I see it. It's gonna look bad. Tank is gonna be too fast. And the punch, I believe, I'm not saying it's gonna knock him out but he's gonna feel it.
Even with Davis's shocking new training clips showing a stronger, more explosive version of himself, skeptics remain unconvinced. Many boxing fans and analysts insist that size will be the ultimate deciding factor against Jake Paul. At just 5'5", and having spent nearly his entire career dominating the lightweight ranks, Tank would be facing a major disadvantage in height, reach, and natural weight. Critics point out that no matter how powerful Davis looks in the gym, physics don't lie, and Jake's solid 190-pound frame might be able to withstand the kind of shots that have folded smaller opponents in the past.
What do you think is the minimum weight of someone that could beat you in a fight?
Minimum weight?
Yeah,
Right.
someone's like 250.
Yeah, probably 250, 220 or some shit like that.
With no experience?
Yes, sir.
Someone with no experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, hell no. They gotta have experience to beat me.
No, but like a 300 guy, no experience. You think
Nah,
you could beat him?
I'm whooping that ass.
Yeah.
I'm whooping that ass.
Many fans are already drawing parallels between the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis showdown and the memorable Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather exhibition, another battle of size against skill. Much like Mayweather, Davis enters as the smaller yet sharper and far more experienced technician. Jake, on the other hand, mirrors his brother's approach, using raw power, size, and relentless aggression to overwhelm opponents. In the Logan Mayweather clash, the massive physical gap kept Logan upright. But it was Floyd's precision and timing that controlled every moment of the fight.
All of a sudden, we want to know who will win in this fight, Jake Paul or Tank Davis. It's a legit question. And I actually want to really hear your thoughts on who do you think is going to win. Because I know what Vegas is saying, but I want to know what you think. You got
Personally, I think Tank too little, bro.
Yo,
I think Tank's too little.
I'm so glad you have a brain on your fucking shoulder.
I think Tank's
The
too
way
little.
I said, bro.
I think Tank's too little. That's what I'm saying. At weight classes for a
Tank
reason.
Davis
That
is
weight class is for a reason.
5'5", 135 pounds. Jake Paul is 6 feet, 205
That's what I'm
pounds,
saying.
bro.
He's too
6'1",
little.
205. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, but Tank it only takes one good punch. Yes, it takes one good punch when you're about the same size. There's a 60, 70 pound difference in weight in these people. I don't think nobody puts the physics in mind. Jake Paul gets punched in the face by dudes 200 pounds with all their might on a weekly basis. 135-pound puncher, bro. If y'all remember the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Conor walks around like 180 on the regular. He's like 5'9", 180. Mayweather's like 5'7", 145. That 30-pound, 20, 30-pound difference, bro, if you remember that fight, Mayweather was putting mittens on Conor. Guess what happened to Conor? He didn't hit the ground once.
No.
He lasted all 12 rounds getting hit with flurries. I'm talking about Mayweather was having his time. He's being cocky with it, hitting him with all kind of combos. And we're watching the last 3 rounds of that shit like, yo, knock him out. And you know what? He could not knock him out because Conor gets punched by people that are 170, 180 pounds on a regular. And just that 20, 30-pound difference, it was like impossible for him to do anything. And that's exactly what I feel like is going to happen versus Jake and Tank.
Boxing analyst Adi Oladipo offered a critical take on the matchup, suggesting that it's happening too soon in both fighters' careers. Unlike the Mayweather versus Logan Paul exhibition, which took place after both men had already made their mark, Davis and Jake Paul are still in their physical and professional primes. According to Oladipo, this fight feels driven more by spectacle than legacy, a high-profile event that could distract them from more meaningful pursuits in the sport. He argued that such a crossover clash would make more sense later, once both have fully cemented their achievements. For now, Oladipo views it as an entertaining but potentially premature detour that could sidetrack their long-term ambitions.
Paul, Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but
Jake has
Jake
better
Paul now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
Gervonta is fucking sick.
I mean, yeah. No, but dude,
You
Jake.
ever watch his highlights?
Jake can
He's
crack,
nasty,
man.
He's so sick. I love that guy, bro.
Press conference, Jake Paul highlighted the clear physical advantages he holds over Gervonta Tank Davis, from height and reach to overall size. He explained that Tank's aggressive, close-range approach often leaves openings that he intends to exploit with long-range power shots and calculated distance control. Still, Jake made it clear that beating Davis wouldn't suddenly make him one of boxing's elite. Instead, he described this fight as part of his ongoing evolution, Another test to prove he can stand toe-to-toe with legitimate world-class talent. His words reflected both strategy and humility, showing confidence in his preparation while keeping his expectations grounded in reality.
Whether you agree with it or not, Gervonta is considered the #1 lightweight in the world. And it's a division that includes Shakur Stevenson, a lot of young guns coming up. I'm not any more sure if it's going to include Keyshawn Davis, but it's a hot division. He's considered #1 in that division. Like, that's why I kind of find this a bit, I don't know. Like, there are challenges out there for Gervonta. There are big money fights out there for Gervonta. We want to see Gervonta in those fights. Again, I don't know how many fights people want to see AJ in, just to make the AJ Jake Paul comparison. One, as far as I'm concerned, that was Tyson Fury. I don't really have any interest in seeing an AJ in any other more fights. Whereas Gervonta Davis, I wanted and still do want to see him in so many more fights. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. These exhibition things are, like, really and truly, they should all be when your career's done. Like, when you think of Floyd versus Logan Paul, it's done, right? Floyd versus Conor, did he have one more after? Was that it? I can't even remember. But it was right at the end. It was done right at the end, even if it wasn't, right at the end. These guys having these exhibition fights in between what is the peak of their career is kind of weird for me. Very, very weird. And then it isn't even comparable to Ngannou Fury, because at least these guys were the same size. Like, Jake Paul is a 215, 220 pound guy. I don't know what he walks around at. Gervonta fights at 135. Guessing he walks around about 155.
Jake Paul isn't backing down from Gervonta Tank Davis, not in the ring and not on the streets. With his trademark bravado, Paul boldly claimed that if he ever ran into Davis outside the arena, he'd shake him upside down. He insisted that his size, strength, and raw power give him the upper hand anywhere, anytime. Confident and confrontational, Paul brushed off Tank's fearsome knockout reputation, declaring, "He's too small to scare me." The comment instantly went viral, igniting tension between both camps. While Davis remains locked in on training, Paul continues to talk his talk, promising to prove that power can overcome precision. With tempers flaring and confidence on both sides at an all-time high, the stage is set for one of boxing's most electrifying showdowns yet.
I would say a lot of things, but I think first and foremost is going to just be my reach, my size, being able to keep him away. I think there's a lot of holes in his defense that a lot of people haven't exposed before, and he's a great fighter, one of the best. I'm excited. He's elevating me to a new height. He's making me push myself to my limits. I'm more locked in than ever, but at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be able to come out on top and outbox the guy who's been doing it for 7 times as long as me.
Jake just said that Tank has been boxing for 7 times as long as Jake has been boxing. They started out this press conference by saying Jake started boxing 5 years ago. So 7 times 5 is 35. Tank is what, 30?
The size gap between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul is staggering, and it's sparking serious debate about fairness and safety. Davis, who naturally fights around 135 to 140 pounds, will be stepping in against a man nearly half a foot taller and potentially 70 pounds heavier on fight night. The matchup is set at a 195-pound catch weight, but insiders expect Jake to rehydrate to around 215 pounds once the bell rings. Meanwhile, Tank's in-ring weight will likely hover near 150 pounds, a difference so extreme it's rarely seen outside fantasy matchups, to put that in perspective. This is a gap that separates lightweights from heavyweights, divisions that boxing rules were never meant to blend. Yet, history reminds us that sometimes skill can defy size. Back in 2009, David Haye, weighing just 217 pounds, defeated the towering Nikolai Valuev, a 7-foot giant nearly 100 pounds heavier. A modern-day reminder that in boxing, greatness often lives in the impossible.
He's a 5'8" little peon. If we were in the streets, I would grab that little ginger and smack him upside the head and make him forget who the fuck he was. People don't realize I'm a real killer. I really fucking do this shit. YouTube this, YouTube that, Disney that. This shit is not a joke. I'm knocking out the best of the best, beating all of these people time in and time again. And it's about time that you old heads and all these fucking boxers who think they know about the sport put some respect on my name.
Despite Valuev's massive size and reach advantage, David Haye relied on superior speed, timing, and movement to outbox the towering champion and claim a decision victory. That bout remains one of modern boxing's most iconic David versus Goliath moments. The comparison now serves as a fitting parallel for Gervonta "Tank" Davis, a much smaller man stepping up to face the physically imposing Jake Paul. If Davis's skill, precision, and ring IQ prove sharp enough, he could once again demonstrate that in boxing, elite technique and strategy can neutralize even the greatest physical disparities.
Is a tiny man, 5'5", and I reckon his in the ring weight is somewhere around 145 to 150 pounds. Meanwhile, Jake Paul is around 6 foot. We're not quite sure. I think he says he's 6'1" or 6'2". I've heard other people saying they think he's closer to 5'11", 6 foot. But the point is, he's a much, much taller man. And in the Mike Tyson fight, he was over 220 pounds. So the size difference is massive. This fight's been made at 195 pound catch weight. But after Jake's rehydrated, assuming there's no rehydration clause, which I don't believe there is, he'll probably weigh around 215 pounds in the ring. That means there's a sort of a 60 to 70 pound difference between the two men in the ring on fight night, which is absolutely enormous. There are weight classes for a reason in boxing, and this is the sort of thing that is typically not allowed or permitted. And like I said in my intro, it goes to the heart of that key question in boxing, which is how big is too big? It's the reason that the pound for pound list exists, where we kind of imagine if everybody was the same size, who's the best, who's number one? And it's a debate that rages on and on and on. And so when I see a fight like this, I think the hardcore boxing fans, generally speaking, have felt frustrated by it. Yes, because we want Gervonta Davis as part of the actual sport, competing for world titles against the other elite guys in his weight class. But also because if he gets knocked out and loses to Jake Paul, it creates this illusion that Jake Paul's much better than he actually is. And so I guess the question for me is, can Gervonta Davis beat Jake Paul, or will Jake Paul simply be too massive? Can Jake Paul use his size, or will Gervonta Davis simply be too skilled? What's the answer here? And in trying to answer this, I looked to history. And there's one fight that immediately popped out in my mind, and I thought, I wonder what the size difference was there. In fact, it may even be more significant. And it was, and the small guy won. Some of you might be thinking about it right now. It's when David Haye took on the monster, the absolutely ginormous human being, Nikolai Valuev. I think it took place around 2009. So at the time, I was literally a teenager. I didn't have a clue what I was looking at, and I'd fully bought into this David versus Goliath story. But I think it's an excellent example here to draw comparisons between the Gervonta Davis-Jake Paul fight to try and understand whether or not this is a good template and blueprint to try and predict and understand what the size difference might look like in the ring. Now, David Haye was 6'3" and was 217 pounds for the Valuev fight.
Streamer Aiden Ross has thrown his full support behind Jake Paul, boldly predicting that Paul will shock the world against Gervonta "Tank" Davis. According to Ross, anyone doubting Jake's chances simply doesn't understand boxing. He insists that Jake has evolved with every fight, developing the tools and discipline to challenge even world-class champions. Adding to that confidence, Jake Paul recently confirmed he has passed all USADA drug tests, agreeing to random testing conducted by the sport's gold standard anti-doping agency. The move aims to silence critics who accuse him of relying on performance-enhancing substances. With the statement, "No excuses," Paul has made it clear he wants to prove that his power and endurance are the result of hard work, not chemistry, further fueling anticipation for the upcoming clash.
This means that the weight gap was just a tiny bit under 100 pounds, which is obviously 40 pounds more, 35 pounds more than the gap between Davis and Paul. And there was a 9-inch gap in their height versus what seems to be a 7-inch height gap between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. And if you go back and watch that fight, David Haye wins it fairly comfortably. He uses his speed, his power, he moves around the outside of the ring and comprehensively outboxes Valuev, even hurting him at one point in the fight. I remember getting so excited seeing it and thinking, God, he's actually managed to wobble the giant. This is ridiculous. And so on the surface, that was a bigger gap, a harder fight for David Haye than Gervonta Davis might find Jake Paul as an opponent. The size gap was significantly bigger. And Nikolai Valuev was a guy who won over 50 fights. You know, this was an actual competitive heavyweight boxer who'd beaten some decent names.
Overall, most boxing analysts agree that the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis showdown is far more than just a fight. It's a full-blown global event. The clash between Jake's massive crossover fame and Tank's elite-level skill represents a new era for the sport. This matchup goes beyond traditional rivalries like Canelo versus Crawford, showing how star power, storytelling, and entertainment can now rival pure competition in defining boxing's modern era.
For all of you Karens who accuse me of being on steroids as the reason for winning all of my fights, we have the strictest drug testing possible for this match. U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. Random drug test at any moment. Oh look, they're here now. Hey USADA, knee in the cup. Looking good. See if you're on steroids. Clean as a whistle, contrary to what they say.
And that wraps up today's breakdown. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, drop a comment with your thoughts, and stay locked in for the next video. Until next time, fight fans.